So I've been working on watches for over 5 years now, and the sheer number of positive comments, emails, DM, and messages is just incredible. I truly do appreciate all of you guys on YouTube, Instagram, and clients who've commissioned custom orders through me. So as a way to say thanks, I'm going to be giving away today's build. More on that later, so let's just dive right into the build process. Okay, so for this build, I'll be using the Seiko Instruments NH35 movement, which features a date-only complication. I start all builds by checking the operation of the caliber, like its natural date change, quickset, and balance wheel oscillation. Once those check off, a time grapher is used to see its performance, and this one isn't running to my preferred tolerances, so I'll be regulating it. You'll need a time grapher to perform regulation, so if anyone wants to pick one up, I'll leave an affiliated link in the video description. Please be careful when adjusting, since any slip up will result in damaging the hairswing, ultimately ruining the movement unless you replace or fix that afterwards, which isn't fun. So now it's running decently, although the amplitude could be higher, but these movements usually have a low reading, so I'm not too concerned. The plates are cleaned up in preparation for the dial, which has silver indices and a date cutout. This part has all 4 dial feet, so I'll be removing the 2 that aren't needed. I lightly file down the stubs to make sure it's flush, otherwise the dial won't make a contact with the spacer. Of course, everything is thoroughly cleaned up and the dial is slid into place. I like to prep the dial and indices afterwards, since we don't have any hands in the way yet. The date is precisely crossed over for the next step, and here are the store style hands with C3 Lume that will be installed. The hour hand is aligned up to 12 and oriented parallel to the dial before being pushed in with the setter. Now I'm making sure it's not making contact with any of the applied indices, rechecking its spacing, and giving it a good clean. The next steps are repeated for the minute hand and cross-checked with the hour hand for alignment. The second hand is a bit different, as I do the alignment and installation in a single step. You just need to make sure that the part goes in straight so that the cannon pinion isn't damaged. Once all the hands are set, I set it to the obligatory 10-10 and monitor the second sweeping. Now we move on to the case, which is the new stub style released by Lume. I previously used the black version for my vintage stealth diver mod, but today's build will be a brush version. First, the case is given a thorough clean before installing the chaptering, which is also brushed stainless to match. The crystal gasket is then placed in and given a clean before setting the crystal in place. This is a top hat sapphire crystal with clear AR which protrudes outwards, similar to how vintage acrylic glasses appear. So it's first set evenly by hand and pushed in with my Bergen rack press. For these type of crystals and domed in general, you want to use concave dies, which are pretty standard in most budget presses. For the higher end presses, you'll often have to buy them separately, which costs a fortune like most Swiss made tools. Once the crystal is set, I make sure it was installed perfectly parallel to the case and later spent around 1,000 hours sterilizing it. Just kidding, it's actually 2,000. Anyways, I am marrying the case to the internals, which gives a good idea as to how the build would look once completed. With the thickness of the sapphire, it often leaves a cool distortion effect along the edges of the dial. The click spring is then installed and the bezel gasket is lubricated to be placed into the oyster edge bezel. You want to make sure that the gasket isn't sticking out, otherwise it might get jammed when pushing in the bezel itself. The lubricant helps not only to improve action but also lets the gasket stick into place better. The bezel is snapped into place, and even without an insert, I think it looks pretty cool as is. At this step, the action is checked, and if I'm not happy with it, then I'll go back to make necessary adjustments. Now moving on to the crown work, here is the stem for the NH movement, which is cut to size and lightly filed to remove any burrs that could result in cross threading. I personally like to seal the stem to the crown, but it isn't necessary. The compound used isn't permanent, just strong enough to keep it from unthreading accidentally. Once the assembly is done, the gaskets are lubricated to help its water resistance and installed into the watch to test all of its functions. Here I cleaned the underside and placed in the lubricated gasket for the sapphire display case back. First tightening by hand, then finished off with the version 5700. Okay, so all that's left is the insert, which is loomed and made from domed glass. I thought it would pair well with the design of the top hat sapphire since it resembles Bakelite. Here's a quick tip for the 3M, cut it in half since it's a lot easier to orient opposed to guessing where the center of the entire sheet should go. The insert is aligned up and firmly installed, which finally completes the watch head itself. Of course it needs a strap, so here is a solid link oyster bracelet which makes it ready to be enjoyed by its new owner. So here it is, this is the completed build. I'm just gonna call it the giveaway build because yes, one of you guys are going to win this piece, but first let's go over the specs. The case is around 40mm with a 47 lug to lug distance, 20mm lug width, top hat sapphire crystal with clear AR, Lume dome glass bezel insert, signed as crown, brush chapter ring, oyster edge bezel, sapphire display case back, regulated NH35 movement, and also has a solid link oyster bracelet installed. If you watched my charity build video, then this is essentially a stainless version of that mod with a few changes like the choice of crystal and the bezel insert. I have to give a quick thanks to Namoki Mods for providing me with the parts to use for this giveaway. They have a large assortment of parts for anyone interested, so I'll leave a link in the description below for you to check out. Now the rules to enter the giveaway are you must be a subscriber of the channel, obviously. You have to be a follower of my Instagram page at Lume_shot, a follower of Namoki Mod's Instagram page at Namoki Mods, like the video and leave any comment below, but you have to include your Instagram name because the winner will be contacted via direct message. The giveaway will end on the date shown on screen and the winner will be chosen randomly. All the rules and policies will be in the description below, so make sure you check them out too. Thank you again to Namoki Mods and massive thank you to all of my supporters because I wouldn't be able to do any of this without you guys. Okay, enough gushing. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Do follow me on Instagram at Lume_shot, and I'll see you guys in the next video.